Welcome to the world united. Welcome to the world united.
ROBBI and GUNTER is a leader in the Learning Centre for Human Development, an educational non-profit organisation. As well, she has a principal role in Kiwanis. Is that the correct me if I'm wrong there?
Yes.
Kiwanis, thank you.
Yes.
An organisation that supports children and youth. Thank you. Her passion is assisting others to have better lives and achieve their dreams. As an entrepreneur, she provides solutions for businesses to increase profitability through increased visibility to their audiences. She loves to spend time in nature and in meditation. She especially enjoys storytelling as a means of sharing and connecting with others. She's dedicated to the upliftment of human consciousness and global harmony. And her elder is Grandmother Parisha, who I'm hoping will jump on and join us in the panel. She's been popping in and out as we go. ROBBI, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us. I'm really looking forward to your presentation. Or just let me know if you, there we go.
And I'm here in the Learning Center for Human Development, an educational nonprofit organization. And my elder is Grandmother Parisha. And today I'd like to share a story with you, a personal story, because through that experience I had, I learned the value of absolute dedication and commitment to overcome a very serious challenge. And I also learned the value of having other people that were willing to work with me so that I was not alone, and together I was able to overcome something that could have been potentially very serious to my health. So it took place in a little town in Ontario, Canada, called Orangeville. And I happened to be visiting some friends for the weekend, and they have a beautiful farm, out in a, fantastic rural area, beautiful rolling hills, lots of trees, lots of open sky. And it was a beautiful sunny day, and I was outside on their outdoor trampoline, bouncing up and down, reaching for that beautiful blue sky, looking over the treetops, and really having a lot of fun. But then I started to lose my balance, and I never quite got it back. As a matter of fact, I totally lost control, and I ended up flipping over the edge of the trampoline and landing on the back of my head on the grass. And when I landed, I heard this terrible sound. It sounded like dominoes falling, but it was the vertebrae in the back of my neck cracking. But it was a horrible sound. And I had taken first aid training, so when my friends all came rushing over and tried to pick me up, I told them, no, just don't touch me, leave me here. I think I hurt my neck, and it's better just to call an ambulance. I knew that it's pretty dangerous to move a person when they've possibly got a spinal injury. So the ambulance showed up, and they whipped me off to first they put on a cervical collar so that I couldn't move my head. They strapped me to a board so I was completely immobilized. Then they put me in the ambulance and whipped me off to the hospital in Orangeville. And there they took x-rays of my neck. And it was kind of cool when they brought the x-rays back, because I could see my skull and I could see, the upper part of my spine. And that day I happened to be wearing a pair of silver earrings shaped like rabbits. So in the x-rays, I could see my skull and my spine, and these little rabbits on each side of my skull kind of suspended in space. So I thought that was kind of cool. But what they told me was that I had subluxation of C2 and C3. Now what that means basically is that the second and third vertebrae in my neck had popped out of place, and there was really nothing supporting my head. And they were very concerned that if it moved even slightly, I would nick my spinal cord. And at that hospital, they did not have any surgeons or specialists who were equipped to do that. So they shipped me off in the ambulance again and sent me to the spinal unit at Sunnybrook Hospital in Toronto, Canada. So when I got there, there was a whole other series of examinations and there was a lot of waiting around. And finally they came back to me and told me they were going to have to do a procedure where they attached a halo to my head. And what that is it's a band of metal, a circular band of metal that they drill 4 bolts into your skull, and they attach this band of metal, and it's supported by metal bands to a special vest, and that whole contraption holds your head up while your spine is healing. And they told me that I would likely be in a wheelchair for about 6 months. And I was like, no way, that is not going to happen. You're not doing that to me. I refuse. And so I carried on like that for quite a while until finally they sent in a psychologist to talk to me. And the psychologist told me that I was going through all of the stages of, denial, grief, all of the stages of denial. And I told her that the only denial that I'm experiencing right now is I'm absolutely refusing to have this procedure. So you might as well just leave. As a matter of fact, what I really want you to do is get me to a phone because I need to call my elder right now. So they weren't very happy about it, but they rolled me to a phone, and I managed to reach Grandmother Parisha, my elder. And what she told me was that for some time, for quite a while, my body had been trying to tell me that my heart and my mind were not in sync. And this was like the final straw, that my body was trying to tell me there is a disconnect happening between what's in your heart and what you're, mentally attempting to do with your life. So I thought about that for a while, and I realized that this was the 3rd time in a couple of years that I'd ended up in the hospital with something pretty serious. And I thought, this time I better do something about it because, I am not willing to spend 6 months of my life or more in a wheelchair. So I said, well, what do I do? I asked her, what do I do? So she told me, you need to take a journey to your medicine place and, discover what you see there. And I said, okay. And I hung up the phone, and I realized after I hung up, I didn't know at all what she meant by taking a journey to my medicine place. But I thought I'll just, I'll give it a try. And I just know that there is absolutely no way that I'm going to live in a wheelchair, for any period of time. So they took me up to ICU to wait for the surgeon to perform, they insisted that this had to be done. They were waiting for the surgeon to come and perform the surgery. But a few minutes later, they came into ICU and told me that a huge storm had come up outside, and on the golf course, somebody that had been riding around in one of those golf carts, the golf cart got flipped over by the wind, and the poor man had crushed his skull, and he was in much worse shape than I was, so the surgeon had to take care of him first. So I'm like, great, fine, I'll wait. And he told me as soon as he was done that he would come back and take care of me. So in the meantime, I was left alone in the ICU, and I decided that I would do that journey into my medicine place. And I closed my eyes, and I saw a forest, a beautiful forest, and a pathway through the forest. And I walked through this forest, and I saw a light in the distance. It was like a tunnel of trees I was walking through. And I could see that there was something there. And I got closer and closer, And once I got to this clearing, I saw that there was a beautiful, beautiful hound dog there, just a beautiful dog, golden dog. When she turned, I reached out to touch her, and she turned her face, and I saw that one side of her skull, her face had been totally mangled, totally beaten. And immediately I realized that, I'd gone through some trauma in my childhood that was, had left some scars on me. And what I was doing as an adult was continuing down the same path. I was no longer in that environment, but I was setting up situations so that those sorts of things would continue to happen to me. So I just said in that moment, this ends here. I'm done with it. I am not doing this any longer. I've had enough of it, and it's over. And I fell asleep, and I was woken up, a little while later, and it was this surgeon, and he told me it was 3:00 in the morning, and he was too tired to do the surgery, so he would do it in the morning. Well, the next morning, I woke up with a bunch of doctors. Well, I couldn't really see who they were because I couldn't move my head. I just saw a bunch of white coats all around me, and someone speaking to me and telling me that, they were going to take me some more x-rays, which they did. And when I came back, the doctors all showed up again and told me that for some reason that they couldn't understand, none of the things that were showing up in the x-rays from the previous day were there. And I asked them, like, why? What happened? And they couldn't explain it. But I knew what happened. I knew that I had made a decision that a direction in my life that I was heading in was not the direction that I wanted to go. And I was making sure, I was determined 100% that I was not going to go that direction. So I know between my decision and the work that my elder was doing for me and all the people that were praying for me, I knew that is what made that shift. It made an actual physical shift in my body. And I was able to, I had been telling them the whole time, you have to let me out of here. You can keep me here tonight, but tomorrow I'm walking out of here. So they did keep me in the hospital for a couple of more days because they just wanted to keep, double checking that everything was fine. And during those couple of days, I was in the spinal unit, and I saw people going by in those wheelchairs with those halos on their heads drilled into their skulls. And I was just extremely grateful that I had made the decision that I was not going to go that way. And I was able to get up and walk around. They didn't actually let me walk out of the hospital because it's policy that they have to take you out in a wheelchair. But I was able to walk, and I went around with a sore neck for a few weeks, but eventually, it was completely cleared up. So what it was really important to me to share with you today is that regarding unity and bringing humanity together, it's when we make that decision with absolute 100% commitment, conviction, determination that we want to change things, and we want to bring people together, and we want to love and respect each other, and we want to live in a world of peace. That can happen, but it can only happen when we have that kind of commitment. It has to be absolute commitment, and we can't do it alone. We have to do it together, and it takes all of us. So through that experience, I learned that anything is possible. Anything that seems impossible is very possible. And again, I want to say that it takes that determination, that decision to make a difference, and that decision to do it together. And I want to thank you very much for this time sharing with you, and look forward to seeing all of you.